In this video, I'm going to show how to place the front lower ball joint on this Lexus IS. Located behind your front wheels, let's get started. With the vehicle safely raised and supported, use a 21mm socket and remove all 5 lug nuts and then pull the wheel off. Just as a tip, if your vehicle has locking lug nuts and the special key for it, don't use an impact on it, break it free by hand with a breaker bar, then finish removing it because the teeth on those little sockets can break. And remove your wheel. Let's remove the cotter pin that is on the outer tie rod, and to do this you might need a pocket screwdriver to help you pry the hook out, slide it off, use a 17mm socket and remove that mounting nut. Oh, looks like for me the tie rod stud popped out, which is great actually. Sometimes they don't and they get stuck in here. Now because this is an aluminum knuckle, I would not want to hit it with a metal hammer. You could try to tap it with a rubber mallet or dead blow hammer right here. Most likely what you'll end up doing is having to use a tie rod stud or ball joint stud remover tool. What that looks like is it clamps on to this part of the knuckle, has a bolt that threads down, and it'll pop the tie rod out. Once again for me, well, this has already happened, so I'm going to remove it. Below the knuckle and the rotor, you'll see 2 19mm headed bolts that clamp the lower ball joint assembly onto the knuckle. Let's remove both of these. That knuckle separated, which is perfect. We can now move this to the side. Careful of your CV axle, the ABS wire and all that, but as long as you can move it to the side like this so we can access the top ball joint nut, that's it. That's all you need to do. Let's remove this cotter pin, same way as the tie rod one. Help it along with a pocket screwdriver. Now just so you know, these hook style original cotter pins you can reuse. If you happen to have one that you have to bend over anywhere on the vehicle, that one you have to replace, but these you can reuse if you want to. This is a 19mm nut. Remove it. And now we have to get this out of here. You could use that same ball joint stud remover tool. Another option is to put the nut back on flush with the top of the stud and then use a hammer and just hammer this down until it breaks free. That is up to you. I'm going to try that method, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to put the ball joint stud separator on. There's your ball joint. There was some corrosion here, so I'm going to take a wire brush and gently clean this area out. Keep in mind this is an aluminum control arm and you don't want to potentially damage it by removing too much material if you were to sand this down. On the new ball joint, you'll see a couple arrows on the base of it. Those need to be pointing towards the inside of the vehicle, not this way towards the outside or the wheel. That would be backwards. So take this ball joint, put the stud through, have your mounting nut ready, thread it on. Let's torque this mounting nut to 88 foot-pounds. All right, that noise you're hearing is the nut and this built-in washer hitting up against the aluminum and basically pressing up against it as it's trying to spin. So that's normal, but as long as your torque wrench clicks or beeps and this is torqued, you can now double check for the alignment of the cotter pin slot. In my case, it does not line up. So I have to keep tightening this mounting nut in order for it to line up and not loosen it. You never want to loosen these up no matter how close they are. So let's move over to the next slot on the castle nut so we can stick that cotter pin in. That right there is lined up for me, so let's get the cotter pin through. Hook it on, make sure it's secured. It's not going to come out, and there you go. Before the knuckle goes on, I like to put some anti-seize around the base of this lower ball joint mounting point, just so the knuckle doesn't corrode in the future as it stays mounted on here. Just a thin layer, that'll do. Now let's get the knuckle back onto the lower ball joint. I'm going to have to pivot this a little bit Line up the dowel pins. You want to make sure this is properly lined up so that when you put these bolts in, they can smoothly bite onto their threads. This is an aluminum knuckle, so it's very easy to accidentally cross-thread it, and you don't want to risk damaging the knuckle. Snug these up. Torque these two bolts to 92 foot-pounds. This is going to want to turn. That's normal. We don't have the tie rod connected. All right, that's torqued. Now bring the knuckle over, put the tie rod stud back through it, and install the mounting nut. Snug it up. Torque this to 48 foot-pounds. This is not a castle nut. If your tie rod for some reason has a castle nut, continue tightening until the next slot lines up if it doesn't already, so you can put that cotter pin through. But in my case, I don't have to worry about it. Stick a new cotter pin through, and this one's the type that we have to bend over to lock in, so do exactly that. Let's get the wheel back on. Start on all 5 lug nuts. We'll bottom them out in a cross pattern, and also in a cross pattern, we'll torque all of them to 76 foot-pounds. If your vehicle has the locking lug nuts with the key, be very, very careful with these. I don't recommend using a power tool on them. I'm going to use one just to slowly bottom it out, but I'm not going to impact through this adapter because the teeth on the backside can very easily break. Once again, 76 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Double check them all. Remove your tool if you had one of these here. There you have it. Take it for a road test, and don't forget to get in alignment.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.